Patriot Pals. As you know, one of my favorite people on planet Earth is with me today. I last week saw some news in the paper, and I literally, for one of the first times in this battle, cried. Nobody has been more for God and country and fighting every step of the way from before Trump won straight through. He's fought for medical freedom. He's fought mostly for the people of New Mexico. And he's a hero beyond just me thinking as hero. He's been a hero to millions of people. Thank you for coming, Cooey Griffin. And I cannot believe that it's you, of all people, that they would go after. They must have no idea how much God loves you.
Amen. And not only how much the Lord loves me, but also how much God has prepared me, Mel. My story goes back before politics. It goes deeper into the ministry, where God gave me a call in 2006 to ride horseback from San Francisco, California to Jerusalem, Israel. And that made no sense to me. It was a total step of faith. I didn't know how it was going to unfold, but I believe that by that call and me being obedient to it and actually riding horseback from the Golden Gate to Golden Gate, God really strengthened my faith. He really built in me the type of strength that it needs to stand strong in the world of politics today. And I'm very honored to be in the fight. It's been a huge blessing.
Well, let's talk about what happened here. So we did a show not too long ago. I'm going to put the link below to the last show. You went to first of all, you were at Cowboys for Trump. You were with him through the whole campaign, through winning. Trump recognized you both publicly and privately. You continued the fight. Then you got in front of the medical freedom fight. You really continued to fight and be in the front lines for that, for people maintaining their integrity and their God-given, choice of what to do with their body. And then you went January 6th. You went there to pray. You were, if there was a peaceful protest, in which that was mainly 98% of the people there, if not more, you were one of them. And you went there to pray. We have footage of it. It was very obvious. You don't have a mean bone in your body. I've met you multiple times. But also you're all about love and God and blessing individuals and the country. And that's what you did that day. And tell us what happened after that.
Yeah, as you mentioned, I traveled with Amy Kramer and the Women for America First platform as a lead up to January 6th. As I went to the Capitol on that day to pray, but I went to Washington, D.C. on that day to stand for the president, to attend the rally at the Ellipse, and to fight back against this tyranny that we know is taking our country over. As you mentioned, the medical freedom, the border, our Second Amendment, all of those attacks are driven by tyranny that we're faced with. But yeah, on that day, on the day of the morning of January 6th, I got a text from Gary Chapman, a good friend of mine, a Christian recording artist. And Gary just encouraged me to go pray with people on that day. So that's what took me down to the Capitol. By the time the Lord landed me, I was on the west side of the terrace, strictly being in obedience to Christ, and led thousands of people in prayer. Was never told that I could not be there. I never saw a sign that said restricted zone, unauthorized. I never was approached by any law enforcement officer telling me to leave. I left on my own accord. And on January 17th.
This is all provable.
That's correct. Yes.
I know.
Yeah, it's all documented. But on January 17th, I was arrested by the FBI on a misdemeanor trespass charge, where I spent 3 weeks in what they call the DC Gulag, a sheer place of torture, Mel, like I cannot put into words. You hear the stories of those that are still being held in there, and I can vouch that every word that is spoken is true. It's a place that is total torture. It's totally un-American, and it has to end soon, because I tell people I did 3 weeks in the DC Gulag, and I honestly don't know how I would have been able to spend one more day. And to think of these men and women who have been in there for close to 2 years is is frightening in every sense of the word. It's frightening. But I went through. I was offered a few plea deals. I was later charged with disorderly conduct, disruptive behavior, and the trespass charge. I was offered some plea deals, which I denied because I didn't feel like I had broken the law. I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong. I denied the plea deals. I went to criminal trial before Judge Trevor McFadden. I was acquitted on the disruptive behavior and disorderly conduct charge, but yet he convicted me of trespass, where he sentenced me to 2 weeks in jail, which it was time served because I had already done 3 weeks in that hellhole. But I'm paying my fines back. I'm looking to do my community service. I'm complying with what I feel like is unlawful actions. And then, as we're probably going to get into, recently I had a civil lawsuit filed against me by plaintiffs outside of my county, charging me with insurrection. So what took place afterwards is I have recently been charged, convicted, and sentenced of insurrection right here in New Mexico on a bench trial before a liberal judge in a liberal county. And the plaintiffs hired the likes of Lawrence Tribe, Dan Abrams, Erwin Sherminsky, the NAACP, all these liberal.
They're doing it all over the country. They're doing it all over the country. They're trying to go after everyone. The reason that you probably were targeted first is because you are so visible. You've been for now 5 years, and you're just like everyone else that they're hitting, Bannon and Giuliani, and you are a symbol of to them, Trump's people that they need to take down to threaten everyone else. But I got to be honest, the thing is that insurrection charge is so ridiculous. First of all, you got trespassing. Everyone knows that the signs were torn down, if there were signs. There's so much footage. They still haven't released the 14,000 hours, and they're restarting their January 6th thing today. But also at the same thing, they're saying that you were of disorderly conduct. You were literally leading people in prayer.
Amen.
And this current regime, the globalists that took over our country, they're secular Democrats. Right now they're calling the Christian nationalist movement the like white supremacist movement, and they're conflating Christianity and religion and God with insurrection. And that's another thing. And you had been elected as county commissioner, right?
That's correct. Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Right now, so you were a county commissioner. You went through the stuff in DC. You get trespassing, not insurrection. Then the Mark Elias left-wing tribe crew comes to the individual in your state where you did not commit insurrection there or in DC, and they file a lawsuit against you under what grounds? For who?
They have no grounds. They have no standing. But I mean, it's just such hypocrisy, Mel. I mean, in a civil lawsuit, anybody that has any knowledge of the law knows that there has to be injury in order to file a civil lawsuit against somebody. And this lawsuit was filed by people that live outside of my county, you know? So, I mean, they have no standing. The judge in this is a total disgrace. He follows politics more than he follows the law. He has no jurisdictional standing to rule in regards to insurrection. I pointed that out very clearly. To
try to get precedence for that. But I still don't know where they're saying you committed insurrection. If the DC judge found you not guilty of that, and people that are watching have to understand, not only did he run and win as county commissioner, but the people of New Mexico that voted for him love him. So this is the judge nullifying a man that has served his community for the last 2 decades, if not longer, as all over the country. Like, to think that you have to serve community service is laughable. You've been serving community service your whole life willingly, and then this is your livelihood, correct?
What was it?
It's your livelihood. That's your job.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you have children and a life.
I've given when I give myself something to something, I give myself fully and completely. And you know, I owned a business before the world of politics. I was in the restaurant, I owned a barbecue place, and I was in the restaurant business. But whenever I was elected as county commissioner, I sold everything out because I wanted to get in this fight and I wanted to give myself totally and completely. So whenever they fired me or removed me, I should say, they've removed the thing that pays my bills and supports me. They took my health insurance from me and they took my paycheck from me, which really wasn't much, but it does pay my bills at the end of the month. So, you
You
know, I
have a
mean,
family, sir. It doesn't
yes,
matter what it was. You also, when you had your barbecue, it was really good for your community too. And you hired people and gave jobs. Then you gave that
right.
up. But you also, there's a big problem in New Mexico with the Native Americans, with the border, with the illegals, with drugs. And you've been on top of really helping the people of New Mexico. And this, people love you. And this has
Well,
nothing to do with that.
and whenever I owned the barbecue place, I was also pastoring the New
I
Heart
know.
Cowboy Church as well. So I was a bivocational pastor. I pastored New Heart for about 5 years, and the Lord really used me through it. But the people of my community do know me, Mel.
I know.
They knew. I mean, I've preached so many I've got a funeral that I'm going to preach this Saturday for a friend of mine that passed the other day, but. You know, I've preached I don't know how many funerals, I've officiated I don't know how many weddings, and I have given myself as God leads, as God calls us to do. But you know, the support of my people was proven through a failed recall not that long ago
Right.
either. As my political adversaries in this area, they waged a recall against me after January the 6th, and that recall failed miserably. But so since the tyrants couldn't get me out through the will of the people, now they're going to use a civil court with a liberal judge on a bench trial to take away the will of the people. But as you mentioned, like with President Trump and with so many other America First candidates, tyrants want to take away the will of the people. That's
Right.
why they're trying to keep Trump from running again. That's why they want to disqualify him as a candidate, because he doesn't fit their narrative. They want to handpick who they want in office, and that's what's going to happen in my case, because by them removing me from office, that will allow the governor, who is a radical progressive here in New Mexico, to now hand select
Yep.
who is going to represent the people of Otero County instead of them picking who they want to represent them. So it's just tyranny, is all it is at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
I just can't understand if the and people don't
Well,
understand.
I have another trial coming up as well, and it was just recently postponed. It was supposed to have been on the 19th and 20th of this month, but it's a jury trial, and it's in regards to the state of New Mexico trying to force me to register as a PAC, a political action committee, and I don't operate as a
Why?
PAC. I don't raise money. I don't write checks. I don't necessarily endorse candidates. Um, but the reason why they're wanting to force me, Mel, to register as a PAC is so I have to disclose all of my financial records to the state of New Mexico, and then they can see who has written $100 check or a $500 check or whatever. They can see my supporters, and then they're going to go after them with the
Right, I
same
know.
vindictiveness that they've gone after me with. You know, so it's just and Cowboys for Trump. I mean, really, at the end of the day, it boils down to me loading my horse up here and going to rallies and riding around carrying an American flag and speaking in support of Trump.
And having thousands of people come up to you and want a picture with you. Thousands.
But amen. But it's been effective. That's why they want to shut me down. It's, you know, as I mentioned, riding horseback to Jerusalem, God really showed me how bringing a horse into a crowd of people and having a warm message is a great way to reach people. You know, I mean, I've been to Black Lives Matters protests on my horse, and I've ridden right into the middle of the crowd, and I have these fascists and these anti-establishment and anti-everything people that will come up to me in droves because they want to come pet my horse, you know, and they want to love on my horse. And whenever they're loving on that horse, the walls come down a little bit, and you can speak truth to them and do so with love and gentleness and concern. And it's, in ministry, God showed me how strong it was to reach people, and in politics, it's much the same. And so that's why they're so hell bent on destroying me right now.
I think they have such corrupt people involved in New Mexico somehow. Everyone knows New Mexico is a disaster, that there's all kinds of corruption beyond comprehension. I talk a lot about the Native American situation there. Like driving through that state, there's so much federal land that cannot be even trespassed on. Like what's going on there, let alone, we all know Jeffrey Epstein had a giant ranch on there with like Richardson was a regular, the Clintons were regulars. New Mexico is a hotbed of corruption. Yeah.
In that Epstein ranch deal too, I don't know if you know, but that ranch that Jeffrey Epstein operated out of was formerly owned by former Governor Bruce King. That was Bruce King's ranch before it was Jeffrey Epstein's ranch. When you turn off the road to the Epstein ranch up in northern New Mexico, there's a green sign that says Zorro Ranch Road, and that's a state of New Mexico sign.
Oh,
wow. Those are the state signs that we have all around New Mexico. Yeah, the Epstein didn't choose New Mexico by chance.
Right.
Epstein chose New Mexico because, as you said, we're one of the most corrupt states in the United States today.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable because that also Richardson, the former governor, he's very tight with the Clintons, but he can't just run like hoping God will provide, but God has provided for you. But to consider you as a pack, the people of New Mexico should be up in arms. What they're trying to do is like you said, they're trying now, you isn't good enough. Everyone that voted for you is now a problem in New Mexico.
Absolutely.
I believe that there's a good contingency. I think it were the majority. I honestly think this is probably 20% that the progressive Democrats that are really globalists, that are into the Marxism, communism model, they're in bed with the CCP, everything. They really would like to see you and I and 80 million Trump voters in gulags. I really think that this is real. And New Mexico is scary because, I know that they put up FEMA camps in Washington State because people have sent me pictures. I'm sure they're there because there's so much federal land in that state. We drove through the whole thing and we were thinking, what is going on in New Mexico that so much land, and you were actually going to figure this out, so much land is not able to be even walked upon.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Going back a little bit in my history, Mel, I was raised in the logging and sawmilling business. We had a little bitty sawmill, and we were just curators of the national forest. And about 25 years ago, through the Mexican Spotted Owl Endangered Species Act of Bill Clinton's, we had our livelihood taken away. Now our forests are burning up, and we have to have access to our land if we're going to survive out here in the West. But you mentioned prison camps and putting camps up. But, Mel, my concern is they already have them built and they're called federal prisons. That's where they're going to start trying to put people like me, people like Steve Bannon, people,
believe me,
others that won't quit. We won't quit. The reason why they haven't stopped coming after me is because I haven't stopped moving forward. If I was to stop and I was to sink back into a place of irrelevance and I was to keep my mouth shut, then they would probably leave me alone and they would move on to the next person. But since I am bold and since I stand in the faith and the power and trusting Jesus Christ as my Savior and Lord, I'm one of the biggest enemies that they have right now. But you know what? It's an honor. It's an honor to be in the battle. It's an honor to fight for our country. It's an honor to be giving to something that is worthy and to stand on the right side of history, because we do.
I know. And I really do want to say also, as you said with Bannon, you are identifiable as somebody that, and let me tell you something, when you think it's wrong or something Trump did is wrong, you say it. You are about God and country and integrity and faith, but also doing the right thing. You're not about left or right. You're about what is right. But I think that because you're so easily identified as, because so many people saw you involved in so much that had to do with, the amazing movement, the freedom and truth movement, that you're like an icon without even wanting to be, because I know you in real life and you're very humble and everything, but people they see you, and you kind of are a sign of freedom and hope. And when you come in on your horse, everyone's, people feel that sense of, if only they could sit on a horse with a flag and come through you kind of feel it's like this like icon of like freedom and hope. And that they're picking on you is the craziest part of this. That I literally cried when I saw that. I texted you right away, and I said, of all the people that I have met in the last 3 years on this journey, I love no one. I come up to you. I wish I could have jumped through the phone and hugged you. I was sitting there like, what? Of all the people, but they're persecuting you the most says a lot more, like you said. Now, I want to be able to. I'm definitely going to do anything. So tell me what the next step is. So you're in court. You hear this insanity. Do you have a lawyer with you?
I do have a lawyer right now, Mel. She hasn't entered in because timing is everything, and in the appeal process, as soon as we file the appeal, it's going to limit us on time in order to get everything. But not only I've got a lawyer here in New Mexico that isn't really knowledgeable on all this process, but I have some great lawyers outside of the state that are going to be able to work through our New Mexico licensed attorney, which is the way that works. So that's going to be our next step to get this appeal filed and keep pushing back, because we have too much on the line right now. Nobody should be inactive. Everybody has a place to fight for our country today. If it's nothing more than just in your own home with a sibling or a parent or a child that has gone astray, everybody has a place to dig in right now.
Yeah, and I want to say, because this is happening to hundreds of people, 5 or 6 I know, including you, on a high level, but it's going to keep going down. People have to understand, the people like you are the top of the line. They're going for, it's like I always talk about, like in Nazi Germany, people would be like, just keep your head down. Don't do anything wrong. Don't do anything that can get you, like, stand out. Just be quiet, do your own thing, mind your own business, and you'll be fine. But we know that that's not what happened. And that's not what happened in the Bolshevik Revolution or in the Mao Revolution. No, the people, those were just the last people to go. The people that sat back and did nothing because they just hoped that they wouldn't be seen. Because what's happening to you, I just talked to somebody else that's happening to as well, that's high profile, is called lawfare. And this is warfare by using the legal system. And it's not to, it's to bankrupt you. B, it's to silence you. C, it's to destroy your reputation. And B, and this is happening to all the lawyers, including Giuliani, Jenna Ellis, Trump's personal lawyers, Boris Epstein now, Stephen Miller now, just this last week, they all got served subpoenas. And this is so that they will erase you. Like it's a lot of it has to do with bankrupting you, because they want you to stop fighting. And the minute that you can't afford to fight back, because it's very expensive to fight the government, they have unlimited money. And then the pack that the group that is behind your lawsuit, which is behind a lot of these lawsuits, they have billions of dollars. So, and I don't think people understand how expensive it is, not just because you and Bannon and all these people, Navarro, you have to get attorneys that cost not only with a retainer, these aren't attorneys that are on contingency, these are attorneys that need to get paid, and then all the legal fees, the court fees, the fines, all of this. This is war. This is legal war.
The biggest problem that they have with me, and I speak this honestly, Mel, in that regard, is that I've been broke my whole life. I'm serious.
I know.
I live in a 1976 double wide out here in New Mexico. I drive vehicles that look like they got to be in the junkyard. I've never had any money, and so for somebody that really doesn't have anything to take away from them, then what are you going to threaten me with? I mean, it's not like I'm a big wealthy man and I'm afraid I'm going to lose all my wealth. I've always given. I've always tried to live my life more in a place of service, as you mentioned, and so I mean, I'm not. They can't hurt me in that respect, But it does take money to fight this fight. And whenever I went through my civil trial in Santa Fe, I know that I get called a fool by a lot of people, but I didn't even have a lawyer whenever I went through that. I was pro se. I had a friend that's a very bright legal mind. He's not a licensed attorney. He helped me write these motions to quash and dismiss jurisdictional motions. They were extremely strong. I didn't think that this would actually go to trial. That's why
I can't even believe it.
That's why I didn't fight so hard to get a lawyer. So I said in that, but the cool thing about it though, is I got to cross-examine the witnesses that they brought, that the plaintiffs called. And I got to cross-examine Daniel Hodges, the Metropolitan Police Officer from Washington, D.C., one of the J6 big Capitol police officers.
He came to New Mexico?
I had him sitting under oath in front of me, Mel. And I asked him about Roseanne Boylan and the beating death of Roseanne Boylan. And he said, no, I'm not real familiar or anything. I said, well, do you know a Metropolitan Police Officer named Lila Morris? He looks at me dead in the eye and he goes, no. Wow. I said, you don't know Lila Morris? He goes, no, I don't. And he was giving me the blank stare that they're trained so they don't look down or they don't show the body language. And I said, well, Officer Hodges, that's very ironic because I remember seeing a picture of you, Lila Morris, and Michael Finoni as the MVP invited guest to the Super Bowl game this last Super Bowl. And as soon as I told him that, Mel, his countenance just fell and he looked down and he goes, oh, yeah, I know her.
So wait,
and he's sitting there with the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
I know.
Pinned to his chest, and he's a liar. I also asked him, and this is all recorded in the transcripts. I asked him about the doors of the Capitol, and I said, why was one door closed and the other door left open? And when I started pushing him on this, Mel, you know what he told me? He said, well, one side was left open so people would be lured around to that side. And he used the word lured in trial. And I said, lured? And he goes, I misspoke. And I said, oh, really? Did you misspeak? Kind of like Joe Biden misspeaks?
Right.
But it was crazy to be able to cross-examine and instead of sitting there during trial going, I wish my lawyer would ask this or I wish he'd ask that. I had the opportunity to get up there and ask these questions myself, and it was a great experience, even though I lost. But it was
still great. You didn't lose. You had no chance. You were going to lose no matter what. That's not what they're doing. This isn't a fair trial. But the truth is, so wait, let me get this right because this is new news. So they had the cop from DC come to New Mexico to testify against you. This is completely insane. You already had your trial in DC. Are they doing this? They must be doing this to other people. You must be the first, or we don't know about other people. But so if people even they're probably going home like you, I guess, because they want you out of politics and want you silenced and not to go around and support Trump and freedom and America anymore. They just want to erase you. But that the cop came in, these cops should be ashamed of themselves. They remind me of Eichmann in Jerusalem, banality of evil. I was just following orders. This guy came there to destroy your life on purpose. And he knows the truth. The people in DC, that cop knows the truth. I think he's the same cop because I have a friend, Kara Castronova, who's running in New York.
I know Kara, yeah.
She's awesome, right?
She's awesome. She's great.
Yeah, I love her. She was just on last week. It was before this, or we would have talked about what happened to you, but she'll be back. But she showed me a whole thing. I think it's the same cop where he got on the stand and there was an actual lawyer because a lot of these guys in DC, I'm sure you as well, had public defenders that are working for the other side. They're in DC. The whole thing is a scam. But one lawyer came out and really went after, I think it's that cop, or it's at least one of the ones you mentioned, and destroyed him on the stand. And the media totally hid it. And he was caught in lie after lie. So I'm really proud of you that you did that. And I don't think it's stupid. And I didn't realize your trial was in Santa Fe. Because I'll tell you what, we went to Santa Fe on one of our extended road trips. That's where I drove through New Mexico. Like, what is going on in New Mexico? We stayed in Gallup. We met all these people that were in the I think they're the Cherokee tribe right there, one of the tribes. They were telling us, and they were telling us all about the corruption in their world. And I'm thinking, well, how is this America? And then we went to Santa Fe, and I mean, it's supposed to be like this beautiful, like liberal hippie place. They were totally locked down with COVID months after the rest of the, like New York, months after the rest of the country. And people were acting, they were so mean and militant about it. And I was thinking, God, this is not what I expected. So I'm not surprised.
It's sad. It's sad. New Mexico is, we've been under Democrat control for many, I think for like 75 years. Or I mean, yeah. New Mexico, well, I mean, we're last in education. Our economy is in the toilet. We're the most federally dependent state in the union, you know. I mean,
and guess what? They
but
like
it's from the likes of those like Bill Richardson, Michelle Grisham, and many others.
Yeah, well, they like it that way. Don't forget, who does it benefit? The people of New Mexico? No, you were benefiting the people of New Mexico. You were making a difference. They tried to recall you. That's everything you need to know, and they couldn't. So at the end of the day, we're going to keep fighting. Let me know. So finally you did. It's so crazy. The PAC story is hilarious knowing you. I can't tell you, audience, how many times I was like, are you sure you don't need money? Are you sure you don't need help? No, God will provide. Well, this time I want you to have a really good lawyer and the best help you can get. So can you please, and believe me, audience, they're not going after him. They're going after us. That he is a stepping stone. If they can get this going and his appeal isn't fought and this isn't squashed down, they're coming for the average Joe next. That is the truth. We just talked to somebody else about it too, that Peter Navarro, and I talked to even Alex Jones. Like, they're not banning, they're not going after you guys to stop with you. They're going after you guys to start with you. And that's why we have to fight. So tell the audience how they can help you.
This other trial that I have coming up, I just have a public defender with it, but the state of New Mexico is already entering in trial exhibits, and it's all again January 6th. They've got all, and I'm being criminally charged because I didn't form Cowboys for Trump as a political action committee.
It's not.
But yet now they're using all of the January 6th and all of the statements and all the things that I've been. It's just it really needs to stop, and we really need some good decisions in the court, and I think we can get them now.
I do too, and I fully believe that what they're doing to you, honestly, I saw it and I knew it right away. They are using you to create precedents to go after Donald Trump.
That's right.
What they're doing right now to you, my friend, that's on the screen right now, that everyone's watching, is to create a precedent in the court to do the exact same thing to Donald Trump. They're going to come charge him in Florida, no matter what happens in DC, if they can get away with it. I see DeSantis fighting, thank God. But I'm telling you, I think that what is happening to you, purposely, all eyes on you. If Abrams and all these guys were involved, they are using you to set precedents in the court to go after him. And that means going after all of us. So how can people help you financially, prayers, otherwise? Just lay it all out. Everyone do what you can, please. This is not about him, even though it should be, and he's amazing and God is on his side. I know God will take care of him, but this is about us.
Prayer is first and foremost. Secondly, I do have a Give, Send, Go account up. You can search it by my name, Coy Griffin, COUIGRIFFIN. I'm pretty general on the front page. It's just I lost my job and I need some support. But I don't want to be too specific because the money is always what scares me the most, because that's where they come back and they try to say, oh, he's embezzling or he's laundering or he's all of this. So I just want to be general on that page. But I do want your listeners to know that as a former pastor, I was a fiscal agent of the church. As a county commissioner, I was a fiscal agent of the county. And if your listeners were so to choose to sow into this, I will be a good steward of every dime that's given. and it will go to the help the fight for the sake of freedom now.
Yeah, please, anyone out there, this is not a man of means, and they are trying to destroy him in every way. And he has a family, and he has served the people of New Mexico for his entire life in one way or another, and will continue to serve, which is the great thing. You know, this isn't going to stop you, but at the same time, nobody should have to go through this. You are fighting on the front lines of tyranny and the total takeover of the United States of America by a globalist regime that doesn't only not care about you or me or the people of New Mexico, but not about the people of the United States or we the people at all. So thank you for coming on. My heart breaks. But honestly, I cried because I love you so much, and you're so there's not a nicer person out there that I've met in this fight.
Hey, I'd like to plug real quick though before I go that I'm not alone out here in Otero County. I have a group of patriots out here. We just had a meeting last night.
Awesome.
And we're fixing to start really getting organized, really starting to push back on the grassroots ground level. It's going to start right here with our local governments. First, our county sheriff, our county attorney, our county commissioners. But we're fixing to start pushing these locally elected officials into their oath of office, making them uphold their oaths. And we're going to start taking it back on the ground level. So keep your eye on New Mexico. Keep it on Otero County because we're far from done.
Great. So if you are in New Mexico or have friends or family in New Mexico, there's a group right there, and get in touch with them. Is there a way to find that group if people want to?
Everything's kind of under wrap right now. But
okay, well, when you're ready, you come back, and we'll talk about it again. Oh, I love you. You're a great friend.
Hey, I love you too.
Yeah, we're great
Robert
friends.
Are greatest.
I do. And God, you have such a nice family, and you're. This couldn't happen to a nicer person. And guess what? As I know, God wins, and God has been on your side your whole life. So
we're gonna get through it.
I know you are. Lots of love. Please, if you can, help support this amazing human. And you're not even close to done. I know you.
No, far from done.
I know.